that building a sustainable democracy and a modern economy, guaranteeing the universal rights of all Tunisians, the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, the freedom of religion, the freedom of association, all of that takes time to firmly establish. Building a modern economy that is open to the world, that takes advantage of Tunisia's strategic location, also takes time. But what I am impressed by is not only how inspiring the revolution in Tunisia has been, but how determined the people of Tunisia are about the future you are seeking. Now, the future is always somewhat uncertain, but what is certain to me is that it will be the young people of Tunisia who determine what the future will be. And many have asked, why after so many years did change finally come to Tunisia? And that change here in Tunisia sparked change across the Arab world. And why did young people here in Tunisia strike the first blows for freedom and opportunity? Well, the first and general answer is that the rights and dignity of human beings cannot be denied forever, no matter how oppressive a regime may be. The spirit of human rights and human dignity lives within each of us, and the universal aspirations have deep and lasting power. A second reason is that you belong to a remarkable generation of young people, not only here in Tunisia, but across the world. It is an optimistic, innovative, impatient young people that I see everywhere I travel. Because in addition to your own courage and determination, there are underlying dynamics that are affecting young people everywhere. Changes in demographics and technology, economics and politics that are bringing together this unique moment in history. Young people are at the heart of today's great strategic opportunities and challenges, from rebuilding the global economy to combating violent extremism to building sustainable democracy. And I have fought, as some of you know, some of the women that I was just saying hello to who are leading change here in Tunisia, have fought for years to put women's empowerment on the international agenda. I think it's time to put youth empowerment there as well. Now, I realize, being young, you may be skeptical. It was a long time ago that I remember being young. But the needs and concerns of young people have been marginalized too long by political and economic leaders. And the fact is, today, the world ignores youth at its peril. Because just look at the demographics. From Latin America to the Middle East, to Sub-Saharan Africa, to Southeast Asia. We are seeing what experts call a youth bulge. There are now more than 3 billion people under the age of 30 in the world. 90% of them live in the developing world, and the numbers continue to grow. And you are living in a world that your parents, and certainly your grandparents, could never have imagined. Satellite television, the internet, Facebook. My late mother used to say, what is this about faces on the internet? And new communication technology shrinks your world, but expands your horizons. Now everybody can see how others are living in prosperity, dignity, and freedom, and they rightly want those things for themselves. And we can also see, as we have seen terribly in the last week, what's happening in Syria. And I really commend the Tunisian government for hosting the conference, which was held yesterday. So, as expectations are rising, what is being done to meet them? We are making progress politically, but more needs to be done economically. Young people are 3 times more likely to be unemployed than older people. And more than 100 million young people are scraping by with part-time employment and insufficient wages. And right here in Tunisia, I know there are many young people who are not yet fully employed, productively employed. So the global economy is connecting us more than ever, but young people are finding, even with graduate degrees, they may not have the skills that the global marketplace is seeking. So there is this gap. So millions of young people leave families and villages for crowded cities and don't find what they are looking for yet. The old patronage networks that provided jobs to previous generations were reinforced by corrupt systems that are now outmoded and would not be working in today's modern world. Young people in many countries are combining technologies and ethics to reinvigorate grassroots public service, and we're seeing the results as they stand up against corrupt governments. Many of the ties that existed in family and communities are not as strong as they used to be, and so many young people find themselves on their own. And this is all a recipe for frustration and instability that can be exploited by extremists and criminals around the world. So what do we do? How do we link up the energy and innovation of young people with the changes that are so necessary? In fact, last January, as protests were filling the streets of this city, I traveled to Doha and warned a conference of regional Arab leaders that if they did not act quickly enough to offer young people a better vision for the future, their regimes would sink into the sand. And the young people of Tunisia proved that point. And so political reform is proceeding. And many times in the past, much longer, in Poland it took a decade for a trade union to dislodge a repressive communist government. In Tunisia, it took you a month to dislodge a dictator. The global story that is happening here and elsewhere requires innovative thinking and economic entrepreneurship to ensure that the democratic revolution delivers results for individuals. That is happening in lots of places, but not enough or not quickly enough. Now, I have made the argument that in every region of the world, the needs and aspirations of young people should be more fully recognized. As an official in India recently said, the youth bulge will be a dividend if we empower our young, but it will be a disaster if we fail to put in place a policy and a framework where they can be empowered. So here's what the United States is trying to do. We're forming youth councils at our embassies and consulates to have direct contact with young people like yourself. Because for every problem, we want to seek a solution. We've also created an Office of Global Youth Issues in Washington to ensure ways to partner with you. And we have a young 24-year-old activist, Roman Farrow, who's here today, who is our advisor on global youth issues. To paraphrase Steve Jobs, we not only need to think different, we need to think big. Because if we don't, we will miss this moment in history. Now, what do young people want? I think they want the same thing as what all of us want: peace, prosperity, and dignity. A chance to participate. A chance for your voices and your votes to be heard and counted. And there are tried and true approaches that work. In economics, we need to encourage entrepreneurship, and we have here representatives from NAFIO. Where are our NAFIO representatives? We have Tunisians who have been successful in business, who are partnering with us and others to create more economic opportunities. It is focused primarily on creating jobs for young people. And we've created a global entrepreneurship program that connects investors with young people who have good ideas and are willing to work hard to see them realized. For example, this past fall, we sent a delegation of American investors and business leaders to Tunisia, Morocco, and Algeria to meet and mentor young entrepreneurs. One of the people they met was a 25-year-old Algerian who is pioneering new e-commerce tools for communities with limited access to financial services. He came from a poor village in Algeria, and he knew that the people in his village did not have access to credit, did not have access to markets, yet they had cell phones. So using cell phones, he is providing applications that give people access to credit, to mobile banking, to information about how to start a business and how to build a business plan. An accomplished Tunisian scientist, along with other Tunisian entrepreneurs, have received scholarships to study business and further develop their ideas in America. We're going to build the momentum by organizing a global youth job alliance to bring in more partners and reach more people. And one area we're going to emphasize is expanding English language training all over the world, and especially here in Tunisia. Because English has become the language of commerce, and to a great extent the language of the internet, although obviously it's available in other languages. But it serves as a port of entry into the global economy. The Peace Corps is returning to Tunisia, and they will be emphasizing speaking English. We're using the internet to do English language instruction. We're already helping thousands of Tunisian young people with job placement between the United States and Tunisia. This spring, a team of expert educators from America will travel to the Maghreb to build new links with regional business schools and training centers. Ultimately, we know what governments need to do. They need to crack down on corruption wherever it occurs, crack down on cronyism wherever it occurs, and diversify their economies and open their markets. You know, I hear sometimes from leaders in this region that there is a certain fear about opening their economies, but I think that does a great disservice to the people of these countries that